In a moment that stunned the world, Rick Harrison, once revered as a symbol of trust and success in television, shattered his decades-long silence. His confession, revealed in a hospital room, exposed a truth far darker than anyone could have anticipated. Amid mounting pressure from a widening investigation and irrefutable evidence, Harrison reluctantly disclosed the chilling secrets he had concealed for years. With a voice barely above a whisper and eyes full of regret, he not only alluded to his involvement in covert activities, but also unwittingly uncovered a criminal network so intricate that its existence seemed unimaginable. Rick Harrison's confession didn't just send shockwaves through the entertainment industry. It uncovered a far darker narrative than anyone could have anticipated about the man once seen as the friendly father figure on television. If this story resonates with you or tugs at your heart, drop a comment with a 1 if you empathize with Rick Harrison, have witnessed, or relate to this emotional journey. Or leave a 0 if you see it differently. Don't forget to like and share so your friends can follow this unfolding story too. Rick Harrison was once the embodiment of the American dream, a man who rose from humble beginnings through hard work and determination. Starting with a small pawn shop alongside his father, he began his entrepreneurial journey. Against all odds, Rick unexpectedly became a global household name when Pawn Stars, the hit reality television series, was launched. For over a decade, millions of viewers admired Rick, not only for his successful career, but also for his sharp knowledge, wit, and relatable personality. To many, he was like a wise, funny uncle, someone who cherished history and family. Yet, behind the bright lights and public admiration, there were hidden signs, things that had remained buried until now. Pawn Stars wasn't just a show, it became a global phenomenon. With over 600 episodes aired in more than 150 countries, Rick Harrison transformed into an unofficial icon of American pop culture. He made appearances on talk shows, history fairs, and investment forums, while Gold and Silver Pawn Shop saw a 300% surge in revenue during its first 3 years. By 2016, Rick's net worth was estimated at $9 million. But with fame came intense scrutiny. Rick's meticulous nature drove him to review every episode before it aired, carefully examining everything from facial expressions to dialogue and editing details to ensure perfection. Rick refused to participate in any shows that didn't follow a pre-written script, carefully crafting his image as a principled and wise father figure. However, a seemingly small detail soon emerged. Across 20 seasons, no one had ever mentioned that Rick had an adopted daughter. It was a brief statement, yet it ignited a firestorm of questions. The media quickly caught wind, and concerns about his personal life began to surface. Articles, tweets, and online discussions spread like wildfire. Something mysterious was brewing beneath the surface of that flawless image. A web of complex transactions began to unravel, with intermediaries and cross-border transportation activities coming under investigation. While no official conclusions have been drawn, the case has raised serious concerns. The carefully crafted image Rick had built over the years is now being questioned. So is Rick Harrison merely a victim of misunderstanding, or is there something deeper that has yet to be revealed? That question lingers in the air, shrouded in mystery and unanswered details. The real turning point, however, didn't come from financial records or international dealings. It came from an unexpected moment in a quiet hospital ward. A whisper in the night from Rick himself ignited a firestorm online. That statement, though not officially confirmed, forced the FBI to overhaul their entire investigation. Secret rooms and underground passages at their headquarters were reactivated. What started as a personal secret had now escalated into an international case, with multiple parties under scrutiny. Those who once believed that media scandals could be quashed with a clever strategy now faced a harsh new reality. The internet showed no mercy. A video quickly circulated, capturing Rick lying in his hospital bed on a quiet day, muttering a cryptic phrase, "A child is an island." Six simple words, yet enough to make Reddit, YouTube, and podcast forums erupt. Linguists, criminal psychologists, and online communities began analyzing every syllable, every expression, every tone of voice. The big question was this a random ramble or a glimpse into a memory buried deep in the subconscious? The mysterious phrase quickly prompted many to re-examine Rick Harrison's past through a fresh lens. Details that once seemed trivial, shady international transactions, strange calls to the Caribbean, and an island purchased by a subsidiary, now carried a far greater weight of significance. Everything seemed to align into a faint map, all pointing toward an unnamed island. On the morning of April 12th, Rick was rushed to the ICU at Valley Medical Center in Las Vegas. Exhausted from dehydration and suffering from arrhythmia, he had slipped into a mild coma due to severe mental stress, according to leaked documents. But no one could have anticipated that the detail leading to the turning point would emerge right here. At approximately 3:17 a.m., Rick suddenly opened his eyes and whispered the shocking phrase, "A child is an island." A nurse wrote it down on a piece of paper, initially dismissing it as rambling, but when she mentioned it at the morning meeting, the medical team could no longer overlook it. The phrase was immediately reported to the hospital's internal security department. An off-duty medical staff member, a blogger who tracked Nevada cases, overheard the rumor and posted it on Twitter. The anonymous tweet, Rick Harrison reportedly whispered, "A child is an island," spread like wildfire within hours. No one could have predicted that it would trigger an uncontrollable chain reaction. Reddit forums quickly created dedicated threads for analysis. YouTube videos decoding the phrase appeared at an astonishing pace. Emergency podcasts brought in language experts, psychologists, and intelligence analysts to dissect the hidden meaning behind those 6 words. Many psychologists argue that not all delirious statements are meaningless. Sometimes they act as a doorway to the deepest recesses of the subconscious. The phrase, "a child is an island," soon overshadowed the ongoing financial lawsuit against Rick. Public attention shifted entirely toward the theory of a hidden truth, yet to be uncovered. The narrative surrounding Rick Harrison was no longer defined by what had been confirmed, but by what remained shrouded in mystery. As the public debated whether this was just a random utterance or the final piece of a much larger puzzle, a quietly more serious development was unfolding behind the scenes. Federal investigators quietly reopened the probe into Rick's international shipping activities. This time, however, their focus shifted away from antiques and rare artifacts, zeroing in on more sensitive information that had been vaguely referenced in cargo declarations. A report from 2 years ago, initially dismissed due to lack of evidence, was suddenly revisited. The report pointed to a shell company connected to Rick, particularly regarding shipments to the Caribbean via loosely regulated routes. Under pressure from the incident at the hospital, the FBI executed a search warrant at Rick's Nevada estate, previously used as a storage facility for antiques and collectibles. During the inspection, investigators uncovered a startling discovery: a safe hidden behind a false wall in an old basement, containing dozens of encrypted hard drives. There were no accompanying notes, labels, or traceable data. The hard drives were sealed off with biometric sensors. A team of encryption experts was flown in from Washington to analyze the drives. However, according to internal sources, only a portion of the data on one hard drive was decrypted. And that was enough to change the course of the investigation. One of the partially decrypted drives revealed strange emails with cryptic phrases like "supplement goods for the island in Q2, keep silent about IS-1, and new shipments arriving prepared under VIP criteria." At first glance, these lines might seem like routine internal business jargon. But when paired with Rick's chilling phrase, "a child is an island," spoken in a half-conscious state, they suddenly transform into a strange piece of a much larger puzzle. Linguists and cyber investigators meticulously analyzed every code, every phrase. What was once assumed to be passwords or business shorthand was now seen as possible coded language for human trafficking operations. The big question began to take shape. Could these seemingly legitimate business activities be masking a darker, more sinister network? And if so, was Rick, the man once celebrated for his historical expertise, at the heart of it all? The 6 words spoken in the ICU room became the catalyst that ignited a series of investigations that couldn't be stopped. As investigators delved deeper than financial records, they began cross-checking missing children reports from states where Rick's businesses were based: Nevada, Arizona, and California. The initial findings were shocking. Some of the missing children matched suspiciously with the timeline and logistical routes of companies connected to Rick. This quickly shifted the case from suspected financial misconduct to a full-blown humanitarian crisis. A federal task force was formed to thoroughly investigate the missing persons data, bringing together resources from the FBI, NCMECH, and immigration agencies. At least 23 cases from 2014 to 2022 were linked to data obtained from electronic devices found at Rick's estate. Each new connection deepened the suspicions. Even more alarming were the personal records of the victims. Many came from highly vulnerable backgrounds. These included children in the foster care system, runaway teenagers, and individuals who had been treated at rehabilitation centers. According to internal documents, many of these individuals had been approached by scholarship representatives, charity organization staff, or international program recruiters. It was these promises, scholarships, a better life, an escape from poverty, that lured them to leave their homes and vanish without a trace. They didn't disappear out of choice. They were likely drawn into a hidden system, leaving no legal evidence behind. The phrase, "a child is an island," was no longer seen as a delirious rambling. It had transformed into a symbol, a key to unraveling the mystery. Investigative agencies began to overhaul their entire approach, shifting focus from financial and logistical matters to a broader humanitarian crisis, because this case had now evolved beyond any single category. One of the first cases to be re-examined was the disappearance of April Langdon, a 14-year-old girl from Phoenix, Arizona. She was believed to have run away in 2016 after a family dispute, and the case was quickly classified as lacking investigative grounds. However, when data from Rick's hard drives was cross-referenced with mobile network tower data, a strange detail surfaced. Just 48 hours after April vanished, her phone pinged a tower near a warehouse owned by one of Rick's companies. This information had been overlooked at the time due to the absence of other physical evidence. Exactly 2 days later, a container with the code RH4981 was shipped out from this location, leaving the United States for the Caribbean. What raised alarms was that the container was declared to contain restoration equipment for antiques and high-end sports goods, yet no shipping receipt could be found. Not only was there a lack of transparency in the paperwork, but what stunned investigators was that this pattern had repeated at least 5 times. Each time, the sequence followed the same eerie pattern. A young individual would disappear, followed by a container leaving one of Rick's warehouses, carrying vague declarations, and destined for a location outside the United States. These destinations, especially 3 islands in the Caribbean, known for their lax border controls, have become the focal point of the investigation. One of these islands, according to satellite maps, was previously purchased by a subsidiary linked to Rick's representative. No official residents were registered to live there, yet traces of regular shipments and energy activity clearly indicated someone was living and operating a facility on the island. Everything now seems to lead back to the place Rick once referred to, an island for children. The destinations often lead to a small island that doesn't appear on tourist maps, registered under the names of companies with no physical addresses, no employees, and no clear tax identification numbers. Companies like Sky Holdings, Bronze Needle Enterprises, or Seaward Ventures Limited. What these entities have in common is the continuous transfer of funds between accounts in Switzerland and the Virgin Islands, all linked to Rick. The truly horrifying part isn't just that this is a financial conspiracy, but that it's part of a sophisticated system designed to hide not only money trails, but also human identities. The rudimentary encrypted emails recovered from Rick's devices hint at disturbing activities, with phrases like, "Batch 3 is ready," or "This client prefers silence." These seemingly innocuous lines, when carefully analyzed, send chills down the experts' spines. IS-1 is suspected to be a code for a specific island, while batch is believed to be a euphemism for the group of people being transported. An independent investigation has uncovered at least 7 shipments that left the United States between 2017 and 2021, all heading towards coordinates that are uninhabited and beyond the reach of official surveillance. The most notable destination is a deserted island named Pelican Drift, near the Virgin Islands, which was once owned by Rick through an anonymous shell company. It is now listed as ownerless in local records, a situation nearly impossible in international real estate. As emails, shipping records, and missing persons data start to align, a disturbing picture begins to emerge. Not centered around antique watches or rare books, but a dark logistical network run by the very person once regarded as an expert in appraising heritage value. If you're shocked and captivated by what you've just seen, don't forget to hit like and share this video so others can better understand the truth behind this scandal. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any of the mysterious stories, chilling discoveries, or explosive truths we'll continue to bring to you. Rick Harrison once said in an interview, "Anything of value is worth preserving." But now the public is asking, who determines that value? And does value include human life? The phrase, "a child is an island," once dismissed as a delirious utterance, has now become the heart of a massive investigation. The whisper from the ICU is slowly rattling the legal system as it becomes clear that this is no longer just a financial case, but an unsolved mystery. What is being concealed is not just artifacts, but possibly humanity itself. Part 3 of the investigation uncovers an unbelievable truth. It's not just a network of shell companies and suspicious containers, but also a digital trail left by Rick, the man once seen as the embodiment of American antique collecting culture. After the cryptic words in the ICU, Rick unexpectedly mentioned another island that had never appeared in any previous records, prompting the FBI to expand their investigation and raid Rick's Las Vegas mansion. In the basement, behind a soundproof steel door with precise climate control, they discovered a black notebook, not a journal, but a ledger. Each page was filled with a unique code, not in chronological order. Investigators found code clusters like IS-1, IS-2, ISBH, corresponding to unregistered islands that had surfaced in financial transactions. Alongside these codes was a list of encrypted names, birth years, nationalities, and symbols marked in red. One of the entries read, Lot 12, shipping schedule, July 18, 2021, route PHX, VGTIS1. The chilling coincidence is that on the very same day, the tracking system recorded a container leaving a warehouse in Phoenix, owned by a company linked to Rick, disappearing from the system as it neared Caribbean waters. This container, just like the previous lots, was declared to carry sports equipment, yet no tracking code or entry documentation was recorded at its destination. A logistics expert who had previously worked for U.S. Customs pointed out that only someone with a deep understanding of international shipping could orchestrate such an invisible chain of events, ensuring the shipments remain undetected, especially when the destinations are all outside the reach of commercial radar. The fact that a famous television personality, known for being open about his life and business, was linked to such a complex system left the entire investigative community stunned. This revelation led some veteran investigators to consider that Rick might not be acting alone, but rather as part of a much larger underground organization that could have existed even before Pawn Stars aired. A private flight operated by RH Executive Transit departed from Las Vegas, heading to an undisclosed location in the Caribbean. The records only listed the cargo and personnel, but the investigation took a shocking turn when a team of cybersecurity experts successfully decrypted a hidden directory on Rick's computer. Inside the directory were surveillance videos, some showing dimly lit small rooms with fixed cameras in the background. The sounds of running water, distant footsteps, and faint sobs echoed through the footage. A sticky note attached to one of the videos read, Video H149 SPF 14, individual non-compliant, move to lower level. As the experts dug deeper, they uncovered a categorization system based on inventory codes, such as RMTQ-SBF, which were identified as encrypted markers tracking behavior responses and compliance levels. It was disturbingly reminiscent of warehouse operations, with the codes used coldly, as if they were referring to objects rather than human beings. In September 2021, an independent data analyst tracking the SVM01 wallet uncovered 14 small transfers, totaling over $300,000. These transactions were later funneled to a private jet company, with the final destination being Pelican Drift, an island previously registered under Rick through a now-defunct subsidiary. The final pieces of the puzzle came from witnesses who had worked with Rick. A former assistant revealed a hard drive she had accidentally kept, which contained internal emails and flight lists. One message read, Ensure no one sees our faces when we arrive. The port switches to silent mode. A warehouse employee, whose identity is protected, recalled hearing strange noises coming from a container labeled as fragile goods, shipped separately but without a tracking number. When he asked his manager about it, the response was that the speakers were broken. All of this ledger data, testimonies, internal documents, and surveillance footage not only outlined a case, but revealed an entire system, organized like a shadowy business with processes, codes, rules, and profits. But instead of trading goods, they were manipulating lives. The phrase, "a child is an island," once dismissed as meaningless, now served as the key to unlocking the entire underground network, a system operating through a combination of technology, legality, and media. No longer just a scandal, this has become a direct challenge to the entire legal and ethical system. Rick Harrison, who once claimed that every object has a story and deserves to be preserved, may have revealed a much darker story than anything ever shown on television. Rick Harrison, a name once synonymous with wisdom and sharp intellect on screen, suddenly became the focal point of one of the most significant global investigations of the decade. His personal notebook, filled with ciphers, was not just a crucial clue. It was the key to unraveling a series of horrific truths behind the mysterious name Pelican Drift. For years, Rick had carefully crafted a perfect image, but everything started to unravel as investigators followed the coded notes in his black notebook, the mysterious cipher symbols, and the seemingly disconnected annotations that led authorities to a small island 42 nautical miles from Antigua, an unexpected location. Holding a brutal truth, Operation Drift Fall was launched on July 4th, American Independence Day. This operation involved multiple agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the Coast Guard, and international experts from Interpol. The task force, armed with drones, advanced surveillance technology, and special search warrants based on Rick's testimony and the evidence collected from the Black Notebook, set off to uncover the chilling secrets hidden on the island. Before landing, 3 tactical teams were split into Alpha, which approached from the south where maritime traffic had been detected by satellite. Bravo took the northern approach, where dense vegetation hid numerous underground structures, while Charlie secured the perimeter and maintained communication. It felt as though we weren't just stepping onto an island, but into a scene that history would forever remember. One officer later remarked that within 20 minutes, Bravo had uncovered a secret entrance, an expertly camouflaged steel plate hidden beneath rocks and grass. Below it lay a narrow, damp, and dark tunnel. The further they went, the closer they came to uncovering an unimaginable truth. The motion control system, steel doors, and windowless cold cells resembled a labyrinth designed to conceal every trace of activity. In one main room, they found 15 children, each without identification and no clear identities. Some could only communicate through gestures, their eyes filled with panic, while others whispered things like, "No one will ever find us." That statement pierced the hearts of those who heard it. Other teams uncovered more disturbing areas, including an evaluation room equipped with a recording system, behavior assessment codes, and specialized equipment far removed from ordinary life. Meanwhile, the Alpha team intercepted 2 ships attempting to leave the island, one of which had 3 armed men and 3 children trapped at the back of the ship. The rest vanished from radar, slipping into international waters just minutes before the operation began. On the eastern side of the island, Charlie's team discovered what appeared to be a warehouse, but was actually a fully equipped communication control center, complete with hard drives, encryption devices, and advanced data storage systems. The footage, recorded regularly for over 3 years, showed personnel changes occurring every few months. A total of 23 children were rescued, 7 of whom were confirmed missing from the United States, 2 were from Canada, and the rest remain unidentified due to the lack of records. Some of the children wore bracelets with numbers, while others had faint marks on their skin, clues that would prove invaluable to international investigators. Emergency doctors immediately began assessing the children and providing psychological treatment. The surgery lasted nearly 5 hours, and as the team withdrew, many members couldn't hide their emotions. A veteran officer who had previously been involved in rescue operations in the Middle East cried when he saw a young girl sitting and doodling in her cell. The drawing depicted the silhouette of a man wearing sunglasses, holding a device resembling a remote control. The black notebook, once a symbol of hidden power, had now become a vivid testimony, unraveling a system that had been concealed for years. And most importantly, it opened a new hope for the small lives that had been forgotten in the darkness. In a development that shocked both the public and authorities, the FBI issued a stunning announcement. Rick Harrison's seemingly meaningless whisper in the ICU, "A child is an island," was actually a cleverly coded message directly tied to a secret operation called Pelican Drift. This phrase wasn't just a random ramble in a delirious state. It was the key that unlocked a door to a much darker reality than anyone could have imagined. Rick Harrison, once a famous TV personality from Pawn Stars, was no longer just a defendant awaiting trial. The investigators confirmed that Rick played a key role in establishing and operating a detention facility, one that was supported by his personal reputation and resources. Then, a chilling question began to echo in the minds of the agents. If the first location was IS-1, what about IS-2 and the third island mentioned in the 6 Islands notebook? The horror didn't stop there. An even more shocking discovery was made. A black leather-bound notebook found in a hidden compartment beneath the industrial freezer in Rick's Las Vegas basement. It wasn't just a simple journal. It was a detailed blueprint of an extraordinarily sophisticated network, meticulously documenting procedures for transportation, logistics, and distribution, all written in code. One phrase in the notebook sent chills down the investigator's spine: to build Q4 confirmation. This wasn't just evidence of a new location, it was a sign that the project was in the final stages of construction. By tracking bank transactions from 8 months before Rick's arrest, the financial investigation team uncovered that over $1.3 million had been transferred through a chain of shell companies linked to a construction contractor based in the Philippines, previously suspected of illegal activities in Southeast Asia. The final leads pointed to a contract signed by Seaward Ventures Limited, the company that owned Pelican Drift, for the construction of a rehabilitation and lodging facility on an undiscovered island. Satellite imagery from the end of 2023 confirmed that a new plot of land had been cleared, located about 40 kilometers north of Muro Coast. The island was unnamed and did not appear on any commercial maps, but there were clear signs of a helicopter landing pad and systematically erected cubicle structures. Infrared images revealed 3 hotspots, indicating human habitation or shelters. Even more troubling, the final pages of the notebook listed 9 individuals under the heading Transport to IS-2, each with detailed notes beside their names, including the chilling words, "No valid ID." An electronic payment of $145,000 was ready, accompanied by a note stating that thermal shielding had been completed. Adding to the ominous tone were subsequent orders for solar panels, water filtration systems, and soundproofing, suggesting that IS-2 was being constructed as an independent facility capable of operating for long periods without detection. With mounting evidence, a joint task force comprising the FBI, the Philippine Counterintelligence Unit, and the International Special Operations Unit was formed to locate and eliminate IS-2 before it could become fully operational. Using data from GPS logs, shipping receipts, and weather reports, they identified 3 small supply boat trips over the past 6 days, indicating that preparations were nearing completion. The investigation is still ongoing, and the truth is only beginning to surface. If IS-2 is real, who is operating it, and how many more undiscovered islands remain? In February, March, and early April of 2024, 5-hour trips from Batangas City continued. The listed cargo appeared harmless: sports equipment, rehabilitation tools, and educational supplies. However, files recovered from Rick's computer tell a very different story. A password-protected Word document, retrieved from the electronic trash bin, revealed internal labels such as Lot M3, the 3rd shipment of the month with 7 units, annotated with "safely secured," no need for increased sedation for Rick and his network. The next line in the document is chilling. These children are not people, they are cargo units. When the task force finally arrived at the IS-2 facility, they found a site still under construction: 1/3 concrete bunker, a supply warehouse, and a carefully enclosed vegetable garden. No adults remained at the location, but the reconnaissance team discovered 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, in a state of shock and extreme exhaustion. They were immediately airlifted by military helicopter to a safe house in northern Luzon, located in the 3rd unfinished bunker. The investigators uncovered a handwritten manuscript titled "Establishing IS-3, which contained notes from a trip near Haiti and a completed survey report on an uninhabited seabed. This is the first concrete clue about the 3rd island. The evidence strongly indicates that Rick intended to expand his network into the southern Caribbean, a region rarely patrolled, resembling a luxury resort. The implications are deeply unsettling. How many such islands exist? How many tropical paradises are, in reality, fronts for the unimaginable? Rick Harrison couldn't have built this network alone, despite his name now being at the center of a media storm. In reality, Rick was able to operate in the shadows for so many years due to an invisible yet powerful force: his reputation and the active and passive complicity of those around him. His image as a friendly father figure on television, an educated man, a historian, a family man, and a fair boss became an almost impenetrable armor. It was a pattern of concealment the world is only just beginning to comprehend. For over a decade, Rick maintained tight control over every frame of Pawn Stars. Every line of dialogue, every camera angle had to be personally approved by him. A producer who worked on the first 3 seasons revealed that Rick always insisted on having the final cut, never allowing scenes that made him look weak or out of control to air. The role of his business and legal associates was also undeniable. Shell companies like Seaward Ventures Limited and Sky Logistics were established through prestigious law firms in the United States, Switzerland, and Panama. They handled the paperwork that created a veneer of legality, but never asked questions. "We were just following the contracts," said one former financial employee who wished to remain anonymous. "No one was allowed to inspect the goods. We only processed the transaction codes." This systematic indifference upheld a structure that was nearly undetectable from the outside, a parallel world hiding in plain sight. Even celebrities who had once appeared alongside Rick expressed shock. Yet some have begun to recall strange details. Rick always avoided events involving children and once said, Adults shouldn't have kids unless they know how to raise them with an iron fist. What once seemed like eccentric remarks now echo as chilling warnings. Even more frightening is the silence that persists among those closest to Rick. People who saw the suspicious activities but were too afraid to speak out. A former delivery driver who worked for Rick from 2017 to 2021 recalled hearing strange noises coming from a steel container as he loaded it onto a truck in the middle of the night at a warehouse in North Las Vegas. When he tried to call the police, his supervisor bluntly told him, "Do you know who he is? Do you want to lose your job?" And so, he chose to stay silent. Once again, the power of crowd psychology demonstrated its dangerous influence. Fans didn't just defend Rick at all costs, they attacked anyone who dared to question him. A woman who filed a complaint against Rick in 2018 faced intense online harassment, lost her job, and eventually fled Nevada out of fear. Acts like these allowed Rick to evade scrutiny for years, until the truth finally emerged. Reputation is not a crime, but when it becomes an impenetrable shield used to silence victims, conceal the truth, and manipulate the public, reputation itself becomes an accomplice to the crime. A crime polished by charm and admiration. The final 6 words of his hospital confession, "A child is an island," did more than reveal a horrifying dark side. They exposed an entire culture of complicity, spanning the media, the legal system, and public opinion. It forces us to ask, how many times has the truth been buried simply because the whistleblower wasn't famous enough and the accused was too famous to be doubted? As Rick's confession spread rapidly from the United States to the rest of the world, an unprecedented journey began to uncover the island where dozens of children were once held illegally. As if there were more layers of crime, an even darker hell beyond the gates of hell. Rick didn't just mention Pelican Drift, where 23 children were rescued. He also alluded to another location, a rambling, delirious statement that opened the door to a new investigation, deeper, darker, and more dangerous than anything previously uncovered. Meanwhile, in the United States, the Rick Harrison case has evolved into a large-scale criminal prosecution. The Department of Justice has officially announced that it will expand its indictment, not only against Rick, but also against a network of unidentified individuals believed to be involved in transnational human trafficking, money laundering, and the destruction of federal evidence. So far, 38 victims have been identified, with 12 of them confirmed by name. However, humanitarian organizations believe the actual number could be 3 times higher when considering those who went missing between 2014 and 2022 and never returned. With everything that has been uncovered, we are not only witnessing the fall of a television legend, but also confronting the darkness lurking behind the masks built by power and money. The secrets surrounding Rick Harrison, along with a transnational criminal network, force us to reflect on what is truly happening in the world we once thought we understood. But this investigation is just getting started, and the truth is still hidden beneath many layers. If you're captivated by this story and want to keep up with more shocking revelations, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel today so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We always appreciate your feedback and strive to improve with your help. Thank you for watching and being with us on this journey. We're not stopping anytime soon, and we hope you'll continue uncovering dark truths with us. See you in the next